John Lewis, 1910. Describe reflection as active, persistent, and carefully consideration of any belief or supposed form of knowledge in the light of the grounds that support it and the further conclusion to which it tends. As you can see, his definition focuses on two elements. A. Your beliefs about teaching in this case. Example, how teaching should happen, the role that teachers and students should play, what teaching material should look like, and B. Your knowledge about teaching and obviously learning. Learning theories, teaching methods, and classroom techniques are all closely connected as should become clearer by the end of this unit. Such relationship can be seen from the macro perspective or from the micro perspective. That is learning theories, how students best learning, and teaching approach is how students are best taught, and classroom techniques, how pedagogy can help learning happen. Designing teaching lessons. Things that need to be prepared before designing a lesson are reason behind planning learning in a particular way, learning theories, teaching beliefs and ideas, teaching approach, and classroom activity. Students will be asked to do classroom techniques. The list below shows the 6 key elements that make up a lesson plan. First, learning outcomes, objectives. What you want the learners to be able to do by the end of the lesson by focusing on a set of end results, progression of teaching and learning. Here you list all the activities in which you will want you learn to engage in chronologically. Strategies and materials. You want to list the strategies that you will use. Success criteria, how learned performance will be assessed. Assessment. Here you specify how the loss outlined in will be assessed. Next step. This is an optional element, giving learners homework or extracurricular activities. 4. Principles for evaluating, selecting, and adapting teaching materials. Materials come in many shapes and forms. Instructional materials, sometimes called teaching learning materials, or TLMS for short, can be in print, audio, or video format and are sometimes available on the internet, like YouTube videos. As we have mentioned, there are different formats for teaching materials. The most typical ones are printed materials, textbook, handouts, flyers, study guides, etc. Visual materials, blackboard, chart, drawings, flashcard, maps, photograph, real object, also called relia, and the like. Audiovisual materials, recording, video clips, podcast, film strip, presentation, and so on. And interactive materials that combine text, image, audio, video, and animation. 5. Assessing learning. Assessment will be first valid. This principle refers to the fact that any task or activity that you design or implement to assess your students' learning should measure to what extent students have achieved the loss of a particular unit or course. Second, reliable. Reliability is the condition by which an assessment instrument, example, task, quiz, measures a particular ability of a student over and over, yielding the same or very similar result each time. 5. Part of the learning process. Assessment should inform learning. Assessment should not only be summative. At the end of the course aims to evaluate what students have learned and how well they have performed on a particular course, but also formative. During the course aims to monitor rather than assess students' learning and provide ongoing feedback to both students and teachers. 6. Efficiency. To the ease with which an assessment instrument can be administered and corrected so that marks and feedback are provided to the students in a timely fashion. Summary. We have discussed and reflected upon the time key principles for teaching and learning that will help you to make informed decisions about your teaching practice. This principle can be represented as forming a teaching and learning cycle which includes the 4 elements we have discussed in the unit. First, reflecting upon teaching and learning principles that apply to what you are planning to teach. Designing lessons, where these reflections are put into practice, selecting materials that you think will facilitate the elements of the lesson you have planned, and assessing whether and to what extent learning took place. This is the cycle around which teaching communication skills and competencies for the international workplace has been designed. In the next unit, you will find that the 4 stages are followed to cover the different skills that your students will need for successful communication in the international workplace.